the Council's Constitution and the Members' Code of Conduct. Members are reminded that they must identify the item number as subject matter that their interest relates to and signify the nature of the personal interest. And B, where members withdraw from a meeting as a consequence of the disclosure of a prejudicial interest, they must notify the chair when they leave. Are there any members who wish to make a declaration of interest on any of the agenda items tonight? Councillor John Thomas.
Item number 8, Hackney Carriage Vehicle Licence. I'd like to personal and prejudicial interest in this item, and I'll be leaving the meeting, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor John Thomas. Nobody else is indicating. Okay, agenda item number 3, P/23/0208, Gethin Woodland Centre, A470 Pentrabach to Ridley Car, northbound, Abercarnage, Merthyr Tydfil, construction of mountain bike trails, access trails and uplift track extension and amendments. The report author is Judith Jones. The case officer is Adam Foote. And I believe Adam will now give a brief summary of the report.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just going to share my screen with a presentation for the committee. This application seeks consent for an expansion of the mountain bike trail network at Gethin Woodland Centre, Bike Park, Wales. This application forms part of a stage expansion of the offering, with previous applications having been granted previously consent for additional parking and improved facilities on site. The expansion covers a total of 33,407 metres of mountain bike trails of varying difficulty, arranged as 27 descending trails, 9 climbing trails, 7 link trails, 2 amendments to the uplift trails, and 29 access and emergency tracks, as well as 2 skills areas. The woodlands are managed by Natural Resources Wales, NRW. However, the land is within the Bike Park Wales leased area. The trails range from short linking sections measuring approximately 50 metres long through to full-length trails of several thousand metres in length. The design of the trails are not uniform and would vary between 1 to 1.5 metres wide. Most of the trail sections are between 400 to 800 metres long. The trails would largely be made from the natural subsoils found on the site, although some trails will require some surfacing works with crushed stone aggregate. The image shared on screen currently shows the proposed trail network. The brown lines are indicative of the existing trail network, with the white as the proposed. You'll also note that there are 2 skills areas proposed, one in the north and one in the southern section of the site. This is just this is the same image, just a little bit closer for members' benefit in respect of what is proposed in terms of this expansion. The next few slides, I'm just going to take you through some of the construction, and there's some useful images that have been provided by the applicants in respect of what the current trail networks look like, just for, again, for illustrative purposes. This application is recommended for approval. We have secured there's a 25-year management plan with the proposal that forms part of this submission. The only trees that would be felled are those that are the forestry planting, so the purpose planted ones for the purposes of logging. So they would be managed as part of the entire site would be managed as part of this submission, and would provide an overall net benefit in respect of ecology and biodiversity. So as I said, the application is recommended for approval subject to conditions. The applicant has provided a construction environmental management plan and a landscape environmental management plan to support this application, both of which have been considered by Natural Resources Wales, who are satisfied with the details within those documents. They've also provided some additional information further to the earlier or to the original submission to overcome the need for pre-commencement conditions in respect of ground stability and in respect of the main sort of historic monitoring of the land to make sure that no sort of features of merit would be disturbed. That has been considered by the Coal Authority and by the Glamorgan Gwent Archaeological Trust, and they are satisfied that those details are sufficient to support the proposed development. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Adam. I'm going to go on to questions from members. Councillor Clive Tubby.
I was surprised you didn't have the hospital as one of your consultees, you know. You didn't speak to the hospital at all? No. No. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions from members? No. Any comments from members? Councillor Malcolm Colbrand.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, Bike Park Wales is one of the big success stories in Merthyr Tydfil over the years. So I really welcome this and hope they can continue to grow and expand and attract more tourists to Merthyr Tydfil. So I'm happy to not only support this, but when it comes to it, I'll propose it as well.
Thank you, Councillor Malcolm Colbrand. Councillor Scott Thomas.
Yeah, just to echo the comments made by Councillor Colbrand, it's a fantastic facility, and you know, expansion is obviously proving that it's a success. And let's see if we can, with expansion, let's see if we can get some international competitions here as well.
Thank you, Councillor Scott Thomas. Councillor David Isaac.
Yeah, thanks. I just want to say those photographs were wrong. They don't show me red in the face, carrying boxes up the trails and panting like a good one on them. I mean, I just think the facility is fantastic, and yeah, I'm happy with that. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor David Isaac. Councillor Clive Jones, your hand was up, I believe, but it's gone down. I don't know if you wanted to come in.
No, Chair.
Thank you, Clive. Okay. Nobody else is indicating. Can I have someone to move it? Councillor Malcolm Colbrand moves the report. Councillor Scott Thomas seconds the report. And can we take it to the vote then, please? Raising hands or electronic? Okay. Yeah. And Councillor Clive Jones, how do you intend to vote?
For it, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. That's unanimous then. Thank you very much. Okay, agenda item number 4, P/23/0288, 2 Overton Street, Dowlas, Merthyr Tydfil, CF 48 3AT. The report author is Judith Jones. David Cross is going to give a summary of what has happened up to now.
Thank you, Chair. As members will recall, at the last committee, we presented this application for HMO for consideration. At the time, it was put forward as a recommendation for approval, but members were minded to not accept that recommendation. And instead, in the report today, there are 7 reasons instead as to why the development shouldn't go ahead. So essentially, it's for you to decide whether you're happy with those reasons. Following the committee, there was some updating to those reasons to include the policy references, and I believe one of the reasons which related to fire safety was removed, as it was felt that that could be covered by environmental health anyway. So since the application was reported back to committee today, we have also received a letter from the applicant, which they've kind of made comments in reference to the minutes of the last meeting. So, Chair, would you like me to circulate so everyone can have a few minutes just to have a look at that letter for consideration before making a decision?
Yeah, I think we've talked about this, and I think you've spoken to Geraint as well, and I think it was up to members to decide whether, at the members' pleasure, as Geraint says, whether they receive it or not. But I'm mindful that if it is turned down and then went to the inspectorate and we didn't give due regard to the letter, would that be looked at unfavourably? So Geraint wants to come in.
If the matter were to go down to the inspectorate, then the inspectorate would look at everything that had been received up to the date of the inquiry or written representation. So I would suggest that members did actually determine that they will read it. It's only a page of A4. There'll be a short adjournment to give you the chance to read it before you come back and then make your determination as to whether to continue to refuse or to go back to officer's recommendation from the previous report.
Yeah, okay. I'm happy for it to.
We get it to Councillor Carter?
Yeah, that's already been.
I'll email it to Clive now, and I'll circulate pass the letters around now.
Okay, and we're going to take a 5-minute recess. So it's now 17:13. If we'll come back at 17:18. Clive, can you confirm whether you've received the email from David Cross?
I haven't had it yet.
Okay. If you let us know, we'll do it 5 minutes then from
Okay.
when you receive
Okay.
it.
Okay. Yes, I've received it now.
Thank you, Clive. Oh, sorry. Councillor Clive Jones, can you confirm whether you've had time to read the letter?
Yes, yes, Chair.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to hand back over to David Cross.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, so you've all had the chance to go through the letter. That's just for your information and consideration, along with everything else that's been presented to date. The only thing that I want to just cover really at this stage now is just to highlight a couple of things. Obviously, if you are minded to accept these as reasons for refusal, one of the things you need to be satisfied is that in the event that the application is refused and the applicant decides to appeal that decision, that you're satisfied that you can present a reasonable argument then to any inspector as setting out, you know, why those reasons were justified in refusing the application. Having looked through some of the reasons, there's a general theme, I think. One links to antisocial behaviour, traffic, and then there's some other bits there related to the management of the property. Looking at some of the reasons, possibly reasons 1, 2, 4, 6, and 7, I'm personally not sure what information you would have to present to defend those positions, because they can be somewhat anecdotal perhaps, or presumptuous of how the development might, you know, present itself if it was to go ahead. For instance, each reason should in itself be able to hold up on its own for a reason for a refusal. So if you took all of them and just left one, that should be a sufficient reason on its own. So sometimes having more reasons is not better than just having one really good reason sometimes. My concern would be that on some of the reasons, like for instance, the reason 1, you know, you're looking at supervision and lack of proper CCTV. Some of that would be very difficult to control from a planning perspective, and that's a management issue, and you know, it could be managed perfectly fine. So we're presuming that it won't be managed suitably, and that's something that's outside of planning control. Then reason 2, you've looked at the fabric of the building and the long-term effects it might have on the residents, and you've highlighted obviously that it's made up mainly of families and young children. But I'm not sure why that would make this a development unacceptable to have, you know, a 1-bed house, which may not be suitable for families, but for an individual. Why would that in itself be a reason for refusal? I think reasons 3 and 5 are probably cover most of the issues that that you've looked at. So I think reason 3, which deals with the parking issue, there is a parking issue there, and whilst we've drawn a different conclusion in the officer report, you know, it would be perhaps reasonable for you guys to put forward your own argument as to why why that parking issue is a problem, and come to a different conclusion. And I think reason 5, you've tried to highlight antisocial behaviour as a concern and the management of the property. And I think that in itself probably picks up the main issues that you've set out in reasons 1, 2, 4, 6, and 7, which all relate to antisocial, personal safety and management issues. So, but I'm not quite sure, for instance, the street already has on reason 6, you're saying the street already has a high level of antisocial behaviour, particularly near the archway access. Well, what's unique about the archway access? I know you're drawing reference to the fact there's a HMO nearby, but that will be scrutinised by the inspectors to why the archway, which provides a pedestrian route, why is that a particular issue in itself? And you've sort of highlighted that there's families in the area and that this development would present a massive risk to those residents. So the question then is, what are those risks? Are we talking about health and safety risks? And then how do you, what information or evidence have you got to substantiate that position? As I've said before, you know, what happens in one HMO may not happen in another, and that generally comes down to probably the management. So obviously what you need to bear in mind when considering these reasons is obviously that if it goes to an appeal and the inspector or the applicant feels that those reasons are unreasonable, they may put a claim for costs. The costs obviously is, you know, whatever they've lost out as a result of the decision of the application. For, you know, so it's difficult to kind of highlight what those costs would be. But obviously, if it goes to appeal and the inspector feels that we acted unreasonably, then we may end up covering the costs that the appellant incurs for submitting the appeal. And depending on how that's put forward, whether it's a written appeal or public inquiry, that cost can vary quite considerably. If it's a written appeal, it's probably straightforward, and you may not even occur costs, but that is obviously something to bear in mind, and they may not even appeal. So I think that's I think Geraint wants to.
Yeah,
I mean,
thank you, David. Geraint, the solicitor, is going to come in with some advice.
Yeah, right. There are a number of options that are obviously open to members now. Either they can go with the 7 reasons for refusal as listed on the report, or they can go back to officer's previous recommendation within the previous report that the application be approved, or it is open to members to withdraw one or a number of the reasons for refusal and leave it with a smaller number of refusals. What we have to do, though, is be very clear as to what we're proceeding with. So if we are looking to withdraw some of the reasons for refusal, we need to be very clear as to which ones will remain as the reasons for refusal.
Okay, thank you, Geraint. I'm going to open it up to questions from members. Okay, nobody's indicating. David, can I ask? You mentioned about costs that could be claimed against the council for this. Obviously, the applicant doesn't own the property, so really they've spent, what did they spent on it? The price of a plan and application. So would that be?
They can't claim costs for the application itself, because that's something they would have had to go through anyway. But if it goes to appeal and any of the reasons for a refusal are considered to be you know, we've misbehaved in some way, then because they're not reasonable, then whatever cost is incurred as a result of having to go through that appeal process. So it might be quite limited if it's just written. There's, you know, usually like in the past where we've had costs considered, you know, that's usually, you know, elevated because there's been technical input from the appellant side. In this instance, there may not be a significant amount of technical input, but if the inspector felt that all of the reasons, for argument's sake, were, you know, not acceptable, then I suppose one cost would be, well, what's, you know, if the permission had been granted, what have they lost out of as a result?
Thank you, David. Any other questions from members? Councillor Clive Jones, I believe.
Thank you, Chair. Having read the 7 reasons, 6 out of 7 of them are referring to the fact that they are contrary to policy, whatever. So what's the problem with not accepting all of these when we are referring to it's contrary to policy X, Y, and Z?
It's appropriate that you've referred to the policy. However, it's providing the arguments behind the points themselves. So, for instance, reason 7 relates to personal safety for existing residents. Well, that you know, amenity and I guess security, secure by design and things like that falls under policy SW11. But then you've got to be able to set out what personal safety issues are you referring to? You know, what are those concerns that would come out of this development, which is resulting in the refusal of the application? Because that reason on its own would be enough to reject an application if you've got enough information to substantiate that position.
I'll probably make a comment. I'm not convinced by that answer.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Clive Jones. David, can I ask, it's following on from what Clive has said, really, it's down to interpretation, whether councillors who live in the area know the issues, know a property, know the area, interpret a plan and application in one way, but if it went to appeal to the planning inspectorate, they may interpret it a different way. So it is all down to interpretation of all the planning.
Yeah, there is I mean, like when we've looked at the application, we've assessed the proposal, we've interpreted that against the policy, and you're in your own right to come to draw a different conclusion, but in the same ways that we've had to, you know, to support our conclusion, you would have to be able to do that, you know, at an appeal as well. So you'd have to just justify why you've come to a different conclusion, simply.
Thank you, David. Any other questions from members? Oh, Councillor Michelle Jones.
The letter that we've received, does this lady have any other properties that she rents out as HMOs within the local authority?
Not that I'm aware of.
So in her letter where she says that she is, I think she says she's experienced and things like that, it's not within our local authority then, it's within other local authorities, but we have no way of kind of understanding how her tenants have behaved.
I don't have any information of what other properties she may have or where they may be located, whether it's in the authority or in other authorities. So I can't really answer that. I can only take on face value that what she says, that she's got experience in this sort of
So she isn't known to the local authority at all then? This is her first type of HMO in our local authority?
From my perspective, whether the housing department have dealt with her on other properties elsewhere, perhaps, I'm not sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Michelle Jones. Councillor John Thomas.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, Dave, in the letter it states here, internal CCTV, I think that should be not TC, would not seem appropriate. Have they said why it wouldn't seem appropriate? Are they giving the reasons why they wouldn't install it? Because the only reason I'm asking, we were the guinea pigs in Town Ward when these started off a number of years ago, having terrible trouble. Once we asked the person who owned the HMOs to put the CCTV in, everything has been fine. They have monitored everything, but they are giving no reasons as to why they won't put it in there.
I've got no explanation as to why they don't want to do it. My assumption would be for the privacy of the residents in there. You know, they don't want their daily activities within the house being monitored constantly, I suppose, like Big Brother. They have indicated that there would be a camera on the door. Perhaps in other HMOs they might have internal CCTV, like in some of the sort of if there's sort of corridors or something like that. So you know, in your amenity areas, it still remains private, perhaps. But that's not really something that the planning can control, really. Whether environmental health can insist on those things on something like this, I'm not sure.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm just not happy with the doorbell camera, you know, in these properties, like, because they can easily get damaged, and then you got no ways of checking of what's going on, you know. Okay, that's your answer, Dave. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor John Thomas. Any other questions from members? Okay, we'll go on to comments from members. Councillor Clive Tubby.
Yes, I think this business of the CCTV is due to privacy. I think Airbnb have written to everyone now, if I'm not mistaken, to ask people to remove internal cameras. So I think it's all to do with protection and privacy and that sort of thing. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Clive Tubby. Any other comments from members? Okay, I just come back. I'm not too sure if D2 Propco have got cameras in their properties.
Like the doorways inside are obviously outside,
Yeah.
like round the building outside. But they still can monitor, like hallway type of thing, you know?
Yeah, obviously not in bedrooms,
Yeah,
bathrooms.
no bedrooms, nothing
Yeah.
like that, no.
Councillor Clive Jones.
Yes, Chair, I can answer that question because I've been to one of their properties in Plymouth Street, at the bottom end of town, and there are cameras inside and outside the property. So that particular HMO owner has taken responsibility to ensure that activity that shouldn't be taking place is not taking, if it's taking place, they can spot it straight away.
Thank you, Councillor Clive Jones. And any comments from members? Clive, your hand is still raised as far as I can see, but I'm not sure. Okay. Okay. No comments from members. I think we have to decide then as a committee if we're happy with the reasons for refusal that have been given, or if we want to change any of them, or if we want to take any of them out. So is there any members that Councillor Clive Tavy?
To have a re-vote in case people have changed their mind in the meantime.
Yeah. I think we just want to find out first if members are happy with the reasons for refusal, if they want to change them, take any out or anything, and then we'll go to that vote. Okay. Did anybody want to change anything, or is everybody happy, or is there anyone that's not happy with the reasons given for the refusal? Okay, nobody's indicating. So can we have someone move the report, please?
Very clear as to what we move. We need someone to move that the 7 reasons for refusal are what you're voting on. And then we'll have someone to second that, and then you can vote on it.
Okay. And the chair. Okay, as the chair then, I'm going to move the report and say that the reasons for refusal that have been given in the report are the reasons for refusal that they're going to stay in there for the while this vote takes place. So I'm going to move that report. Do we have a seconder?
I'd second that report, Chair.
Okay, Councillor Clive Jones second the report. And can we take it to the vote then, please? Those in favour of I want to be clear on actually what we're voting for first. So we're going to be voting for if you're happy with it becoming a HMO, which is officer's recommendation. No? Oh, go on. Yeah.
The proposal before members is to refuse the application for the 7 reasons listed on pages 20 and 21. If you are happy with that proposal, then you vote yes. If you are not happy that it be refused, then you vote no. And if you want to abstain, then you abstain.
That's better. Thank you, Garrett. Okay. Okay, take the vote then, please.
One, 2, 6, 7. We need to ask Clive.
Okay, it's
Yeah. I support the recommendation for refusal with those 7 reasons listed.
Okay, so it's 5-3.
So it's refused.
So it is refused. Okay, thank
So
you very much, Garrett.
I now need to deal with the fact of if an appeal comes in, whether it be by way of written representations or a planning inquiry, which councillor would like to prepare the evidence?
Okay, as I've had previous experience on this, which didn't turn out too well, but I'll take on the reins of it, and as the chair, I will, and I'll ask members for help if they can as well. Okay, thank you very much. Right. Okay, agenda item number 5. P/24/0014 26 Mine Gilvach, Lewis Harris. The report author is Judith Jones. Case officer is Adam Foote, and I believe Adam will bring us up to speed on what's happened previously and where we are with this.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Very similar scenario to the last agenda item. Members will recall on the last committee meeting on the 10th of April, the committee failed to resolve not to accept the officer recommendation. So what we've now have before us are 2 reasons for refusal. So the first is that the property is not in a sustainable location, is not well served by public transport or modes of sustainable transport. Therefore, the proposed development is contrary to policies SW1, SW12 and ENW4 of the Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council Replacement Local Development Plan. And the second reason put forward is that the property is not readily accessible to local amenities to serve future occupiers, which conflicts with national policy. Therefore, the proposed development is contrary to policy SW12 of the Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council Replacement Local Development Plan. The only thing I'd like to add for members' consideration, obviously this was discussed in length at the last meeting, in respect of the location of the property not being suitable and it being in an unsustainable location. What I would just echo from that last meeting is that this is an existing property, so it's not necessarily exacerbating, it's not creating a new dwelling within an unsustainable location. It is within the defined settlement boundary, which does form part of your local development plan that went through significant scrutiny and was endorsed by the planning inspectors to be within that to have that settlement boundary around it. Therefore, given its location within a settlement boundary, there is a presumption in favour of development and the efficient use of land is encouraged. Obviously, previously members found conflict with the location and the facilities and offerings in this location, and that's why the previous recommendation was refused. But that's it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Adam. I don't believe there's any letters have been submitted from. No. Okay. Have any questions? Okay. Do you want to go through that again? David Cross is going to.
So just to again to echo the costs element of the previous agenda item, that we would be open to costs as we would with any appeal, and that members will need to defend the position. Again, just to echo, it is within the defined settlement boundary of the local development plan where there's a presumption in favour of development. It's an existing residential property in a residential area. The use would remain a residential use. So that's why the previous officer's recommendation was to approve. But obviously that was rejected, and as is your prerogative. But again, if there was to be a costs application, you would need to be able to defend that position, given its location within that settlement boundary. But again, I think to echo, a lot of this was discussed at the previous meeting with regards to the accessibility of the site. So, you know, I don't want to kind of labour that fact, but again, just to make members aware.
Okay, thank you, Adam. I'm going to go to questions from members. Councillor Scott Thomas.
Yeah, I suggested based on some research into the area last meeting that I believe that there was a business potentially running from within the area. And obviously I just wanted to clarify whether we actually found if the business was functioning and active from I believe it might have been the neighbouring property. I know there was some oohs and ahs when I brought that up in the previous meeting. So I just wondered if we had any clarity on that.
Yeah, our enforcement department are in the process of investigating that. We haven't been able to sort of get to the bottom of it as of yet.
Thank you, Councillor Scott Thomas. Any other members with questions? Okay. Nobody's indicating. Any comments from members? Councillor Malcolm Colburn.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, to me, the reasons that we gave for refusing the application are solid and defendable, in my opinion. Reasons 1 and 2, not sustainable. It's in contrary to the LDP. Reason 2, contrary to policy SW12 of the LDP. Take members to page 34 of the report, where we're talking about national policy for Wales. The bullet point, creating sustainable development through reducing reliance on car journeys and maximising opportunities for people to make more sustainable and healthy travel choices, is emphasised throughout the policy. To me, no way does this comply with that policy. I think we're fully justified in turning down this application on those bases. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Malcolm Colburn. Any other comments from members? No? Okay. Can we have someone to move the report, please?
Can I just
Oh, yeah,
be very
Garen.
clear that what's actually being moved are the 2 reasons for refusal set out on page 32 of the report.
It on again, sorry.
You are voting on the refusal of the planning application for the 2 reasons set out on page 32 of the report. Yes. And you can abstain, of course, if you wish to.
Actually, before we move it, can I just check that all members are happy with the 2 reasons for refusal? If anybody wanted to change anything or add anything or take anything away? No. Okay, that's fine. Okay, can we have someone to move the report then, please? Councillor Malcolm Colburn moves the report, and Councillor Scott Thomas seconds it.
Do you want me to explain to them how they need to vote?
Yes, you can. Yeah.
So just to be clear, when you vote, if you vote yes, it's to refuse the application. If you vote no, it's not to refuse it. And if you want to abstain, then you press the abstain button.
Okay, thank you, Garrett. Can we take it to the vote then, please?
Someone internal, Michelle.
Michelle's thinking.
You've got to ask Clyde, yes.
Okay, and Councillor Clive Jones, how do you vote?
Yes, to refusal, Chair.
Okay, so that's 5-1-2. Okay, that application is refused.
Yeah.
Okay, so Geraint, if you'd like to come in here.
I just need to ask which councillor will be prepared to file the evidence on behalf of the councillors then, if an appeal comes in.
Okay, as the chair, I'm happy to do that in conjunction with any councillors.
We support you in that, Chair, as well.
Lovely, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, settled it. Thank you, Councillor Malcolm Colburn. Okay. Okay, agenda item number 6, information reports only. It's an appeal received. Agenda item number 7, any other business deemed urgent by the chair. Exempt. In order for the following to be considered in private, it is suggested that the public be excluded from the meeting on the grounds that it involves the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined under Part 4 of Schedule 12A, Section 100 of the Local Government Act 1972. Do we have someone to move Section 100? Councillor Scott Thomas and a seconder, Councillor Clive Tubby. Thank you. Thank you very much, John Thomas. Before I start, yeah, everyone can go. You don't want to be here. Can we take it to the vote then, please, on the Section 100? Is Councillor Clive Jones, you still gone? Yeah, okay. So it's unanimous from the members here. All right. Thank you all. Yeah, I'm going to pick up a piece of paper that I drew.